Let me refresh this and see if we've got an update. Nope. Still updated 1 hour ago. Israel elections. Netanyahu is in the lead, exit polls say. The polls, which forecast the outcome before official results, give his right-wing bloc a slim majority of seats over his opponent. Such a result would mark a dramatic comeback for Mr. Netanyahu, toppled last year after 12 straight years in power. Just over a year of Naftali Bennett as the prime minister in Israel. As the polls were announced at that's where we stopped there talking about time zones. As the polls were announced between 5 and 8 p.m. Eastern, upbeat music burst from the loudspeakers at the central venue of Mr. Netanyahu's Likud party in Jerusalem. It's a good start, said Mr. Netanyahu in a video broadcast by Israel's Khan 11 channel. Mr. Netanyahu, 73, is one of Israel's most controversial political figures, loathed by many on the center and the left, but adored by Likud's grassroots supporters. He is a firm supporter of Israel's settlement-building project in the West Bank, occupied since the 1967 Middle East War. Settlements there are considered illegal under international law, though Israel disputes this. He opposes the creation of a Palestinian state in the West Bank and Gaza Strip as a solution to the Israel-Palestinian conflict, a formula supported by most of the international community, including the Biden administration. Mr. Netanyahu is also currently on trial for alleged bribery, fraud, and breach of trust, charges he fiercely denies. His possible partners in the Likud-led coalition government have said they would reform the law in a move which would bring a halt to his trial. Literally advertising that they will change the law to protect him. Israel TV exit polls suggest Mr. Netanyahu's bloc will command 61 or 62 seats in the 120-seat Knesset parliament. And I think I always fuck up the pronunciation of that. I've looked it up like 3 times on this show. It looks like we can be optimistic and have some hope we are about to get a stable coalition with Bibi. Oh, the Knesset. Knesset. Gonna have to do it again. I'm gonna have to do it again. But it's fun. We learn shit. We learn shit on this show. Knesset. Carpe, thank you for the and Mox, the attempted phonetical spelling for me. But sometimes we just have to go hear it ourselves. And as somebody who has been on the radio for over 20 years, that's a thing I'm used to doing, is going and getting the audio pronunciation. Sometimes I do ask the chat for the phonetical pronunciation if I think it could be easy and save me from having to go and Google something. Just for time's sake. According to the polls, Likud stands to be the biggest party with 30 or 31 seats, commanding a majority of the support of nationalist and religious parties. Yeah, once again, I'm gonna have to get used to my drops being in a different place here. This comes as a new Palestinian movement has emerged. The Lion's Den, a new Palestinian resistance group, has emerged. Here's what that says about the state of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We're reading from Vox now. As Israel headed to the polls for its 5th election since 2019, Israel forces have spent the last month putting Palestinian cities in the occupied West Bank under siege. Early October, the city of Nablus has been choked off by Israeli settlers. Nablus and the refugee camp of Jenin, both in the West Bank, have been the site of Israeli security raids. Clampdown of Nablus, which I don't know if I'm saying correctly, comes in the response to the emergence of the Lion's Den, a Palestinian militant group that shot dead an Israeli soldier at a checkpoint outside the city in early October. Lion's Den has been using armed resistance against Israeli security forces in the occupied West Bank. Unlike Hamas or Islamic Jihad, they are not a religious or ideological faction. They're not affiliated with any party. Lion's Den is specifically resisting the presence of Israeli security forces or settler violence to defend Palestinian cities. The change here is that they have been using arms as a defensive mechanism when there are raids by Israelis. According to a researcher at Carnegie Middle East Center, talking about an oppressed people choosing to resist the occupation, which all you Twitter people with your Ukrainian flags, maybe you'll consider supporting a group like this. You know, kind of the same thing. Meanwhile, Israelis today voted for a new parliament after the collapse of a short-lived change government. Initial polls suggest a narrow lead by former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party. This will be a more coherent government that can institute policy more effectively, and extreme right pro-settler members of his coalition are likely to push for an even harsher crackdown on Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. The violence has increased. More than 125 Palestinians have been killed in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem already this year, United Nations official, and this includes nurses, doctors, journalists. Journalists that were intentionally targeted. A United Nations official says that this is the most lethal year for Palestinians since 2005. There's also rising violence against Israelis, according to the UN, with 2 Israeli security personnel and 25 civilians killed so far this year. Always disproportionate one way. Israel has responded with violent raids in Nablus and other West Bank cities, widespread crackdowns, and what human rights groups allege to be the revival of targeted assassinations in the West Bank.